Hi, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Can everyone see the screen, the presentation? Can you also do a thumbs up if you can see it? Okay, great. So, welcome to the .NET Sunday series. So, what we're going to be doing here, guys, is we're going to be creating an application together, right, from beginning to end. So, we'll be having these sessions every Sunday. At 20 to roughly just for like 1 hour 30 minutes. Sometimes we will finish the whole 1 hour 30 minutes, and sometimes we will not finish it, like we'll end earlier than usual because the slides or the presentation or the things we have planned to do in that week have finished, or maybe what we planned has already been done. Okay, so in this series, it's most likely going to run for about 5 weeks every Sunday. That means we'll meet about 5 times. And if let's say in 5 weeks' time, after the 5th session, we don't finish, or second or third we don't finish, we'll just like push the weeks until we finish everything so that we can complete the application as well as learn the concepts of .NET MAUI and how we can implement it or use it to do our mobile development. Okay, so yeah, so we'll be having it at 20 to 21:30 every week on Sunday. Yeah. And my name is Isaac Zimba, and I'm a student, a Microsoft Student Ambassador, a beta Microsoft Student Ambassador, and I will be walking you through this course and build this application together. Okay, so what we'll be building is an AI task assistant app. Okay, so we'll be incorporating the two worlds of AI and mobile development. Okay, so we just want to find a way we can bridge the two, because in this current time and age, most of the things that are booming right now, the things that are on the scene helping, making life easier, is AI, right? So now, for mobile developers, for desktop developers, for web developers, how can you find a way to integrate what you do in other applications into mobile development, right? How can you integrate the AIs, the ChatGPT, the Quen, all those AI models? How can you use them and utilize them in your mobile apps or your mobile development? So that's the center of all this, and also as well as learn .NET MAUI from like bottom up. Okay, so we'll be fusing the two words, mobile development and AI, large language models, through a platform called Azure AI Foundry. So Azure AI Foundry is okay. We'll get to explain what Azure AI Foundry is. So who is this session for? This session is for anyone who's interested in building applications or learning about AI, advancing their knowledge in AI, developers interested in AI-driven mobile applications, and someone who's just interested in learning something new, something different, right? So this course is meant for you also, okay? So why AI on mobile matters is because a lot of people out there actually have mobile phones, right? Almost everyone has a mobile phone. So how can we leverage that advantage of everyone having a mobile phone and getting them to use AI in their daily life? Okay, so a faster or best way, one of the best ways that we can implement to let people use AI models in their applications is through having a task manager. So the ordinary task applications is you open a task app, you put in the tasks you are going to do. After that, you do them, you come back to the application, you click, and you do your tasks, right? You mark them done, right? But now, what we're trying to do in this course is we're gonna want to fuse in some AI and make the part where you have to type or the part where you have to generate all those tasks, think about the tasks. Say you want to do something or make a project or something, right? Instead of you having to type every little thing or think about it and then type it down, what this application will be able to do is that it will be able to, you can just talk to it, right? You can just say, hey, I want to do this and this and this. So here's task number one, task number two, figure out the rest of the tasks, and it will capture that audio, process it, and then come up with tasks for whatever thing that you want to do. Okay, so we'll be doing that on a mobile phone. So this is where the gap or this is why it matters to kind of target mobile devices, because almost everyone has a mobile device. Almost everyone works with one. Almost everyone is constantly using them in their daily lives. Okay, so again, a breakdown of what we're going to do from the beginning of the session to the end will be the first week or the first session, of which is this one. We'll do a walkthrough of everything that we're going to do from beginning to end. And then if we finish on time, in the next session, we're going to start setting up the folders, doing the environment setup, installing a Visual Studio, installing the workloads, and then we'll do a project foundation where we're going to create the folders in advance, the services, the view models, the views and the model folders. We're going to create them, and then we'll do we'll do a small session where we'll talk about what we're going to do, talking about the implementation of everything, what is going to be in the views, what is going to be in the view models, what is going to be in every folder that we're going to create, and how it ties down to building a mobile application. And then after every session, I'll be giving out tasks that you can handle on your own. And then the following week when we come, I present to you some maybe answers or guide. I'll put a guide, I'll upload everything, all these things on my my GitHub. That way you can find the slides, go through them, try and remember what was done the previous week, as well as answers to the assignments, so that you can compare and really get to learn how these things tie together and how everything just works together. Okay, so that's what we'll be having what we'll be doing in the first week, and then the second week we'll be jumping into the second week we'll be jumping into shell navigation, how we can move from one page to another. This is code navigation, how you move from page A to page B or page C. So when you click a button, when the application opens, when you open an application on a phone, how is it moving from the first page to the next page, or from the second page to the third page, back to the first one, skipping the middle pages? All that we're going to dive into in the second week, and that is called navigation. So we're going to specifically use a certain pattern called MVVM. That's model view model. So we'll be passing data between a view. A view is just what you see when you open an application, right? The thing you interact with, where there's a button, there's a screen, there's a card that passes through, you're tapping something, a word, that's called a view. And then a view model is the thing that controls the behavior. On the view there, on the page that you interact with, when you click on a button, it changes the color of the background. The thing that controls the changing of the color of that background screen that you have pressed on is called a view model. And a model is just a representation of whatever you will be interacting with. Say a person can be a model, can be modeled. Yeah, so that's what we'll be getting into. The advanced will explain every little detail, how to do that. There are two types of navigation that we'll be using. There's shell navigation, and then there's URI navigation. So we'll go through all those, and then we'll see how things change, how when you press a button, what changed in the background, what did not change, what stays the same. We'll go through that. And then we'll also look at how data is passed between pages. When you're on an example is when you're on a registration form, right? And then you're on a login. The best is a login. When you're on a login form, you enter the information there, the username, the password, and then you press the login button, right? A activity indicator shows up. It loads, and then leads you to another page where on the second page that it leads you to is the username that you use to register the account shows up on a corner somewhere, right? How is it being passed from one page to the next? That's data transfer that we'll be talking about. How is it moving? How is the data moving from the first page where I clicked going to the next page where I'm at currently? How is that happening? That's what we are going to be looking at in depth. And that's data transfer. So data transfer, shell navigation, and advanced MVVM, we'll be looking at those and we'll be getting in detail on how they work. And then after that, we're also going to have an assignment where you can develop a settings page and integrate a fully functional dark mode with a button where you can just like click and it takes you to another, or it changes the background. You click again, it just changes the whole thing, right? So we're going to have an assignment on that. I'll explain how you can handle it in the meeting, and then later on, let you go through the week trying to implement that. And then when we come back the other week, I give you the answers. I give you the solutions that I came up with. Of course, there's no straightforward or same way everyone is going to implement things. Some people might use this method, some people might use that method. There are various ways you can do things. So I would advise you to always explore the answers that I give you, look at the answers that I provide, and then try and find your own, figure yourself out, see how that helps you. So that's how you can help grow yourself also, and learn more about everything else that we'll be covering in this weekly .NET Sunday meetings. Okay. Any questions so far? You can just raise your hand if you have a question. Okay, if we have no questions, I guess we can proceed. Okay, so week three, we are going to be integrating the Azure GPT model into the. Oh, okay. We have a question from Mario. Mario, you can go ahead.
Thank you very much. I just want to find out what are the prerequisites for one to follow this program. Do you need to know C# or if you're a beginner, you can be able to follow the learnings? Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So I'll get to that question in a bit. So just hold on that thought, and I will attend to that question because it's in the next presentation. Yeah. But just a small answer, an answer to give you that will continue in the next presentation is you need to just know object-oriented programming. If you have the fundamental understanding of object-oriented programming, you would be good. You will be okay. That's the most you need to understand, because we'll be building from scratch. I'll be explaining the concepts, how everything ties down together. Please mute your mics. Okay. So how everything ties down together, how everything is involved. Yeah, that's how we'll be doing it. So even if you know something, if you don't know, you have some knowledge, it will still build up. You will still get the point as we get to the end of the class. I hope that answers your question. Okay. So if there's no other question, we'll continue. So week 3, we're going to be integrating our AI model in the application. So as I said before, we'll be using Azure AI Foundry. That's a platform that you can use to train your models, your agents. You can have your agent there. You can host your models also, and you can utilize the models that are already there. There are a lot of models that exist, a lot of models that people have already made, or you can make your own that do different tasks, connect them to your applications, and it's so versatile. It's so good such that it gives you a URL, right? Like an endpoint that you can just tap into and make it do things. So you will see this when we get to prompting ChatGPT in your application that you're going to make. You will make the application and then we'll have a client go to the endpoint, hit the endpoint with some information that you're going to provide in the application, and then it gives you back a response, and then we're going to display that response inside the application so much that it will look like it's a personal chat GPT. For those who have chat GPT app on your phone, the same way you interact with that application, that's how it will look like. But this time it will be doing a task for us. So it's going to be an object, a Go kind of programming or implementation of the AI, right? We'll be prompting ChatGPT for tasks. We give it a prompt, it produces the tasks, and then we present those tasks neatly in the application. And then we'll connect that to voice, where you can just say something, connect another model that is going to transcribe everything that you say, convert that to text, and then make a prompt for you. And then it gets a response, and then it gives you back a list of tasks and ways you can accomplish the task that you prompted it with, right? So that's what we'll be doing in the third session, where we'll be looking at setting up Azure, going to Azure Azure Foundry, setting up the endpoints, setting up a secure API, accessing using accessing keys, the environment variable, setting up all those things, right? The service class, you understand what those are. We'll have an Azure service class that is going to be responsible for handling the endpoints, the AI endpoints, communications with the AI endpoints. And then we're going to also learn how to communicate between different data types. How is the model understanding what I'm saying? I'm using voice, but it still gives me a response. How is that happening? We'll be understanding and going through that, learning how that can be done as well. Okay, so we also have a hands-on assignment when we get to this point, where you will be able to do do something of your own, maybe just a prompt, right? Like make a separate chat gpt application that connects to chat gpt model, which model, like 4 or chat gpt 4, chat gpt 4.0, 4.4 mini, right? So the entire application we're going to do here, the entire assignment we're going to have here, is you replicating something like the ChatGPT application, the mobile application. So that's the assignment we're going to have when we get to this point. Okay. So and then week four, we are going to incorporate voice. So now this is the part where we're going to be letting the application record audio and then send it securely to Azure API. We're going to use a Whisper model here. So there'll be a Whisper model that we are going to attach to, send our voice that has been recorded to that model. That model is going to make it's going to transcribe the voice that we've sent it, the voice recording that we've sent it, and then that text that it gets from your audio sound or audio, transcribe it into text, feed that to the GPT model, it generates the tasks, and then it's going to send them back. So that's the whole gist of, that's the whole cycle of the flow of information, of how the information is going to be moving. Okay. Okay, so that's how the flow of information will be going. And then we're also going to try to locally save the data models or the tasks that are going to be generated, such that you can still use the application and find the tasks when you're offline. That way, you can still use the application when it's offline, and you only have to you connect it to internet when you want to do the transcribing, or you want to add more, or you want to let the AI handle the generation of tasks for you. Otherwise, you can also type on your own. Just type it out, add the tasks, and you can go on with your day. So it will be a hybrid kind of application. You can use your voice, you can type, the model also generates, or you can just entirely continue doing or adding the to-do lists, to do tasks on your own. Then week 5, we're going to polish up. In week 5 or the 5th session, we're going to polish up the application, make it look nice, adding some shadows in the application, because in the beginning it will be a bit plain, right? Because we'll be focusing on functionality, right? And then after that, kindly mute your mics. Oh, okay. So, sorry, I did not notice I muted my own mic. Okay, sorry. So where was I? I was on the 5th session, right? If this is where I ended, you can just do a thumbs up. Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay. So in the 5th session, we are going to be working on the UI, right? We'll be looking at the UI, polishing it up, making it look better than it is, because in this application, we're going to be really focusing on the logic, the backend logic, right? The functionality of the application. It having to go to Azure, get that model, make an improvement on the tasks, let ChatGPT generate tasks. It gets that response in JSON, puts it in the application, and then we deserialize that response and implement it in the application, such that it displays those things on your views, and we implement those things and it shows on the views, such that you can interact with the application also. Then we're going to test. I'll show you how you can do some unit tests. That's a bit advanced, but it will be a short one, the simple kind that just helps you have the application tested for release, right? And then we're also going to go through adding necessary assets like a splash screen, icons. A splash screen is the thing you see when an application is launching. When you click on the application and then it shows that thing. For those who have run .NET MAUI applications before, you know that when you install an application and a .MAUI application, and then you press, like you open it, it brings the .NET logo on the screen. So instead of having the .NET logo, we're going to remove that and place something else there, an icon or an app icon or some text, whatever you decide to put, but an icon, yeah. I'll show you how we can do that. I'll show you how we can also change the icon for when you install the application on a device and change the name. So we'll do those things in the the final session, the last session. And then at the end of it all, we are going to bundle the application and make it ready for release, so you can deploy it on your App Store, your Google Play Store, or whichever you use, making it ready for release, showing you how to package the application. And then finally, we are going to do a review on .NET MAUI, and then Azure integration, and then some best practices of things that you can do, or things that can make your work faster. Throughout this entire session, we'll just be making the user interfaces raw, like on our own, just plain old XML, right? And then later on, I'll show you some libraries, some libraries that you can use to speed up development in terms of UI design, in terms of backend design. There are some plugins you can just download, get from NuGet, and they speed up your development from building the UI to implementing the logic, the Model-View-ViewModel, implementing that. It will be faster with some libraries that you can use. Okay. So the final project submission, will have you kind of demonstrate how you implemented the application you will build. For those who are going to go above and beyond what we're going to do in this in these sessions. So if you like, you can reach out, and at the end of it all, we can showcase your application to everyone else. But if you're not comfortable doing that, that's okay too. But if you're okay, we can also show everyone, and I also display what I'm going to make in the end. Okay. So a summary of what we're going to cover is we're going to focus throughout these sessions, we're going to focus on MVVM, mastering MVVM, understanding the importance of clean, maintainable, and scalable architecture of applications. We're going to do some AI integrations. We're also going to focus on AI integration, how you can integrate AI in your development, your mobile applications, even during development, right? But that's something we can do after this session, something called MCP, having your own MCP that you can plug into your VS Code, and it helps you as you use it to generate code or be context aware of the programs you are writing. So show you how to integrate GPT and a Whisper model into a mobile application, and some core practices. You will gain some practical skills in handling APIs, asynchronous operations, and local data storage, as well as build a complete application. So these are some of the things that you're going to you are going to see, or you are going to learn at the end of everything. So this course is just it's more than a series of just videos or some sessions that we're going to do. We're going to have this weekly, because you guys should have time to practice, right? Every time we have a session, I would highly advise you to try those things on your own. While you can use the slides that I'll be sharing after every session. You can use them to try and learn on your own as pointers, right? You can, okay, Google this, Google that, Google this, Google that. You see something you don't understand, maybe you've forgotten, right? You can just Google it and see how that is, read more about it, get to learn other things, right? So this is meant to be a guide on how you can do certain things as integrate AI in your application. That's the main goal. But in the process of learning how to do that, if you are new at Maui, you will learn what Maui is, how to install it. If you already know it, you will learn how data moves from page to page, from page 1 to page 2. If you already know that, you will learn how AI integration works. You will learn how to interact with APIs. connecting to other websites. You will learn how to implement some good best standards in application development. So this course, it's for everyone, right? These webinar sessions are going to be for everyone, either someone who's new at it, someone who's never touched it, someone who's done it before but they just want to explore and learn more about Maui, right? And the .NET technologies. So we won't only do .NET MAUI, we are going to also use Azure AI Foundry, right? So you will learn how that works, how you can train your own models online, how you can create the endpoints to connect into your applications. You will learn that. You will learn how you can also create your own models for specific tasks that you want to do. Any question? So this is the end of the first presentation. There's another presentation in this same one. I'm just going to have Blessings swap them out and he'll stop the presentation and start another one. So while he does that, any question, if you have a question, this is the time to ask, because at this point now, what we're going to do is he's going to start presenting another slide. And then in the slide we are starting now, we are going to I'm going to explain the structure of the code and everything we're going to do in the next class. So in the next class, in the next session that we meet, we are going to set up the project. We're going to install the workloads. We're going to install everything that is needed, and then set up the VS Code and everything else that we'll need. So we'll first do a class now for what we're going to do next week. So as we finish the session today, you do try to do those things on your own. That way, when we start next week, you will have an idea of what to do. So any question from anything that we have covered right now? Don't be shy, guys. This is your time to ask. If you don't understand anything, you can still ask, or you can type in the chat. No question? Nobody has a question? Peter, you have a question? Ask. Peter.
So no question.
Harrison has a question. Harrison, you can go ahead. Harrison, you can go ahead. Okay, seems he's not available. Okay, so it seems he's not available. So we can continue. Okay, so building the AI task assistant application. So you can go to the next slide. Blessings. You can go to the next slide. Okay, slide number 2. Okay. So what we'll build together, like I mentioned earlier, is a task assistant application to help you generate tasks and save the tasks. Okay. So we'll be using .NET MAUI throughout this course. So .NET MAUI is a Microsoft framework, a cross-platform framework that runs on C#. A .NET framework that runs on C#. It's a cross-platform mobile development framework. This means with one code base, right? The same code will be able to run on different platforms. You can run that on your Mac, you can run that on your Windows laptop, you can run that on your mobile device, your Android phone, your iOS. It will run the same code, right? You don't have to tweak it so much unless you're doing things that are specific and you only want to see those changes on that specific platform. That's when you can like go into the direct folders that have the specific platform code to do that. Otherwise, the same code you write will work on every platform. You don't have to change anything, right? So it runs on C#, one code base deploys to all other platforms, right? Then the application will also be AI powered. Azure GPT generates intelligent tasks and breakdowns for us. Okay. Then it's going to be voice enabled. So we'll be able to use our voice to create tasks, okay, and save them. So we'll be using or utilizing the Whisper model. A Whisper model is a model that can capture audio. When you give it the audio, it can transcribe that and get text, generate text out of that. And that's what we'll be using to feed to the models, to the GPT model, right? And then we'll also store the tasks after they've been generated and given to us. We'll be saving them locally on our devices. That means when you click save, that those tasks that have been generated will be stored on your phone. Okay, you can move on to the next slide. Okay, so .NET MAUI is a powerful platform, guys. Like, it's a really powerful platform. It's a framework that allows us to create components. The things that we create are almost on par with the native language, right? The native Java when it's running on the phone. Previous slide, you've gone ahead. Yes, the understanding, yes, just there. So you get native performance, right? Almost native performance on every platform, okay? And then it uses XML for UI development. You can also just use raw C# if you like, okay? And then every C# library that works or has already been there. Most of these C# libraries that you use in WPF, you can also use in MAUI, okay? That means there's a huge ecosystem of libraries, a huge platform you can get things that are already there and implemented for you to integrate in your application. The business logic is written in C# and it works with .NET 8 and anything that comes after that, even .NET 7. Not sure if it still works. Yeah, And then you have full access to device features. So what I mean by that is things like the camera, using the camera, the gyroscope, using the speakers, the microphone. You can access those things via the APIs that it comes with. Okay. So next slide. So that makes development very, very easy. Okay. So for this project, we're going to use MAUI because of the native performance that I talked about. This will be giving us access to query those models. In fact, on one occasion, I will show you how you can run the model locally on your device. No APIs, no nothing with ML.NET. That's what I meant by you'll be able to run models on your phone, even without APIs. The local model will be able to store the model locally on your phone, such that as you even use it, you can use it offline, right? So the native performance, it's going to perform way better and way faster if it can access the device's processing power, right? So we'll seamlessly integrate those things. And also we choose MAUI because of the seamless integration with Azure, okay? It's very easy to integrate Azure AI Foundry with anything, but the SDKs, it got SDKs for, I think, for most of these platforms, right? But since it's C#, right? You'd expect it to also just okay, sorry for that. Sorry for that, the disturbance. Okay. So yeah, the seamless integration with AI, with Azure AI Foundry. And then we'll be using it also because of the built-in MVVM. Personally, I like this feature because it separates concern, right? There's the separation of concern is very, very good, and it helps understand the logic and the UI because they won't be mixed in together. That way, you know that, okay, the functionality, if something breaks, you know that, okay, what's wrong is the UI exactly at this point, or it's the backend, the model is not working because the flow of information is breaking at this point or at this point. So the separation of concern helps in debugging also, and it's easy to understand that way. Okay. So like I mentioned also, the easy access to the platform APIs, the microphone, the camera, the sensors, and everything else. So those are the advantages that you have when using MAUI. Okay. Can move on to the next slide. So the view model architecture is where you separate the logic from the view. So the logic, the view, the models, and the connection between the two. So a model is a representation of something that you want to interact with. For example, if you are trying to mimic something in real life, for example, a phone, what attributes or properties does it have? Okay, it's got a name, it's got an ID, it's got those things that we can use to describe an object, right? Those models. They represent your task in this case. So we're going to have a task, a model of a task. We'll have its ID, we'll have the name of the task, we'll have the title of the task, we'll have a property checking if the task is done, a Boolean for that matter. So that's a model, the task itself that we're going to be having. And then a project, say the thing that will be housing all other tasks, right? Say you want to do something and then you name it, you give it a title, say, looking for a boarding house, right? You have that as your title, looking for a boarding house. Then the individual tasks now that you're going to be doing one by one, those are also models. So you can have the overall thing, maybe call it project, right? And then each project has a certain task, a specific task. So we're going to have like 2 or 3 models that we're going to be using. And then the views are the interfaces, the thing you click on when you're pressing a button, when you're typing in data in a field, the search bar, everything that you'll be interacting with or looking at is a view. And then we have the view model. The view model is like the bridge between a model and a view. When you press a button on the view there, what happens to the data? What happens to the information? How is the background changing? When you flip your phone, when you change your phone from dark mode to light mode or to light mode to dark mode, how does it know and switch the colors, right? The view model is going to connect the view to the models through data binding and commands we're going to be using. Then finally, there's data binding. That's the automatic synchronization between the UI and the view model. The data that is on the front end, on the view that you're going to interact with, how is it moving from the view to the back, right? To the model, to the database, or when you store something in your database, how is it being pulled from the database to be displayed on the screen, right? That's what we'll be looking at. That's what data binding is, and that's what it's about. So that's what the MVVM model is, and that's what we'll be using in this application. Okay, you can go on the next slide. Okay. So MVVM in the AI task assistant. So we'll have a home page, right? As a component, we have a home page. Then we'll have a view model. We'll call it home view model. Then we'll have the model itself, or which is going to be a task model. So the UI, the view layout, it's going to be a UI layout with input fields, right? And the microphone button, where you have a button. When you press the button, it does some animations. We're going to add animations. Does some animations like the microphone bouncing or showing that you're talking. When you're saying something, it's capturing that audio. It shows that it's moving, or it shows something that is loading, right? That's all going to be on the view, the thing we see. And we'll be calling that a home page. So since that's the page that we land on when you open the application, we'll call it the home page. Okay. Something happened with his internet. Just give him a few minutes. Sorry about that. His internet went down. Okay, let me try and see if I can share that. Oh, okay, he's back. He's back. So we'll have the view, the layer on top. That's what we see. That's what we interact with, right? And then when you press the button, the microphone button, it will do some animation, and then it will capture the audio that you start saying, whatever you start saying, right? Now, how does it do that? How does it know that you pressed the button? How do you know that the state of the button has changed? That is going to be controlled via the view model. And then we're going to call it home page view model. So we're going to keep the naming consistent to whatever page is going to be attached to that view model so that we don't forget. For example, we'll have a home page. That's the thing we are looking at. Then the model, the view model that controls that, we're going to name it home page view model. That way, even if you come back 10 years later, you will know that, okay, this is a home page. And then the logic that is being controlled, that is controlling this page, is in the home page view model, right? That's how we're going to be having this. And then lastly, we're going to have a task model. A task model is just going to represent the task. What properties does it have? A task has a name, a task has a is done property. It's got a comment. If you like, you can add a comment. All those properties that a task has. For example, I can give this as an example. If you have a notepad, right, or a sticky notepad, then you write a tiny heading there on top, right, and then you write the details of the things that you would like to do on the note. So that is what we're going to try to mimic, right? The whole card thing that you're removing off and putting on a fridge or something for you to remember certain tasks. Those certain tasks that you are going to be individually putting, that's like a title, a property, and is it done? When it's done, you tick, right? You tick, showing that, okay, you've done this task. So that's what we're going to be making. That's what a model is. Okay, can move on to the next slide. Okay, and then we're going to connect all that to Azure AI Foundry. We're going to connect to two models. The first model is going to be a GPT model that is going to be analyzing the text we give it to generate our tasks, and then it's going to pass those things back to us. We deserialize them, we get the individual tasks, and then display them on the view, and then you can now interact with the application via those things that via those tasks that are going to be generated for us. And then to get or capture the audio, we'll be using plugin.audio, right? Plugin.maui.audio. That's a plugin that you can just a NuGet package that you can install in your project, and then utilize it to talk to the APIs to let you use the microphone, record the audio, and then get that audio, send it to make it hit the endpoint, and then the Whisper model is going to transcribe that, convert that to text, and then feed the text back to the GPT model. Then the GPT model does some generation, generates some tasks for us and gives them back, and then we display them in the application. So that's where the intelligence of this application is going to come from the two models that are going to be hosted on Azure AI Foundry. Okay, so next slide. Okay, so this is the user flow of the system that I'm talking about. You type or speak your goal into the application. The audio processing takes place. It captures that. Whisper converts the speech into text if the voice is used. And if it's just text that you have typed yourself, it will be collected and fed to the API endpoints. The API endpoint will take that to the GPT model. The GPT model does the processing, gives you a response. Then the response is displayed on the device. Then when it's displayed, we can store it on our device locally to view the tasks later on. So this is the flow of what we're going to do and what we are trying to accomplish in this application. Okay, so that's about it. I think you can go to the next slide. So this is the workflow of the system that we're going to implement. You can go to the next slide, please. This is the workflow of what we're going to do in creating this application. So we get the user input, we process the audio, we send that to AI, it does the generating, it gives us a response, we show the response on the application, and yeah, we store them on the local database. So we've come to the end of our presentation of the first session. So if you have any questions, now is your time. Okay, Ernest? Ernest, you can go ahead. Ernest, you can go ahead.
In the case where the text is unreadable or the voice is not clearly, can it still be interpreted?
The model will try to get something out of whatever you give it. But I can assure you that the Whisper model is a very powerful model. It's a very, very powerful model. So even the smallest one, like when sizes, like when you're choosing what model you want to use, you can there's like a small version, then there's like a medium version with like bigger parameters and more parameters, and there's like a large one with like billions and billions of parameters, right?
Yes.
That one performs better, right? Even the small ones, even when you murmur something, it's very good and it can get something out of that and still try to make some inference on it. So yes, it might give you wrong captured information, but you have to be as clear as you can be, because this is just hardware. This is just some algorithms running, right? So you also have to be considerate as the person giving the tasks and be clear enough.
All right, thank you.
Mapalo?
All right, let's say, for example, as we are using the voice feature of the application, then let's say we make a mistake and think of a change. Are you going to show us how maybe we can add a feature that allows the user to delete and re-record what he wants the application to integrate in his task? Are we going to do something like that?
So that's where now the ingenuity of you comes in. That's where now you come in as the developer, as the aspiring mobile app AI developer, to jump in and implement that feature on your application. So we're not going to go that far, but if you make a mistake mid-recording while you're recording, you can just tell it, say, okay, don't include this part, right? And it will be able to remove the other part you mentioned, because we are feeding this thing a GPT model. So yes, it might be able to, but really implementing a button where you can re-record, that could be an advancement that you make on your version so that you learn more.
All right. Thank you.
Any question, anyone? Harrison?
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you.
I wanted to ask, this was my previous question. For us who maybe have .NET MAUI experience, is this really going to be a step up, or we're going to do the same things? I can see it's going to be a step up in some fields like the AI integration, but as in overall, is it going to step up our experience with MAUI?
Yes, it definitely is going to do that, because you are going to understand how functionality works, right? Maybe you've been doing user interfaces this whole time. We're going to be integrating. This time we are starting from the back and not the front. We will do less of UI in the beginning and do more of the functionality, more of the model view, more of how the data is moving, the data binding, understanding the model view model, understanding what features are commands, having relay commands, moving from page to page and removing with the data from one page to another. So for those who are seasoned at this, yeah, you will, maybe you already know everything about Maui, but maybe you don't know about AI, right? It's still a step up because you're learning something different. You're learning something new that you did not know before. So I would say it's still a step up. It's still a step forward. So yes, I hope that answers your question, Harrison. All right. Ernest, you have another question?
My question concerns with the history. Would the AI be able to recall history, or it's a one-time thing?
Uh, I haven't really explored to that point yet with the models. So my answer is I don't know. So
Or
you can maybe try and play around with them. So, but I'm not sure if that is possible. I haven't researched to that extent yet.
all right.
Okay, Peter, have a question?
Yes, my question is, are we using Azure because it's hard to use the AI SDK from your laptop?
No. We are using Azure because it's easy to integrate with Azure AI Foundry. And the models are there. There are a lot of models that you can utilize there. There are thousands and thousands. And if you want, your PC doesn't really, maybe if you have a powerful machine that can house all the country's data, you can be able to run a model like ChatGPT or Whisper model at the same time. But those models are really, really big. Most of those models are really big. So you can't really maybe train one on your own, right? That's where now the cloud computing comes in. That's where now the Azure AI Foundry, because those guys have the technology that you don't have. So you utilize the technology they have to train your own models, make your own improvements, fine tune your own models, make them do your own things, right? So we ride on that. If you if your machine can manage to run the model locally, you can get the biggest one, even run it. But I will show you how to run the smaller one, the very small versions, and you will find that those versions, even if I'm saying small, for most people it might even be big, because a tiny model is like, imagine it's like 7-8 GB, right? That's a small model. So if your mobile device can manage to have that, then yes, we can do that. So I hope that answers your question. But primarily, what we're going to use is Azure AI Foundry. I hope that answers your question, Peter.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, we'll take the last question from Ernest and we'll end here today. Ernest, go ahead.
So in conclusion, the whole build-up of this is for us to learn the functional part of .NET MAUI, right?
Yes. Yes,
All right.
most likely. Both, actually. So if you've never done Maui before, you'll still learn how the UI works, right? You still learn how the backend also works. It's just at this time, we're not starting from the front, we're starting from the back. That's the only difference. So you will still learn both sides. Even if you know, you don't know, you will still learn both sides. Sorry.
All right. Thank you.
All right. So I think that's it. Okay, we can have one last question from Harrison, from Benson. Benson hasn't said something.
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, my My question is, what's the best way to handle state management for conversation? For example, how do I keep track of chat history if the user closes and reopens the app?
That was my question. The history part.
Okay, so um, again, we are not going to do state management in that like in that regard where you want to store the history, the chat history. Like I said before, that would be a step ahead of what we have planned in the sessions we're going to do. And that could be something you implement on your version to kind of learn more about it or learn more about Maui and everything else. So we won't get that far. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Thanks.
Right. Okay. Thank you everyone for joining in today and hoping to see you next week. If you can manage to install .NET MAUI on your own, install the workloads, you can go on YouTube, find a video by Gerard or James Mantamagno. They have a really good explanation on how you can install it on your device, or you can install MAUI on your PC. That way, next week when we give the tasks, you can just jump right ahead and start using it. So, hoping to see everyone next week. Thank you for joining in today. See you next week.